Hey you guys, so today I wanted to give you a brief garden tour slash garden updates just to show you what's going on in the garden. And I will jump right into it, and I will start with the sidewalk border and the health strip garden because it is looking beautiful right now. And what happened this year is the Euphorbia marginata, you see right here, kind of took over the health strip, and I do not mind. It looks absolutely beautiful. So if you're new to my channel, I mostly garden here. There are some pockets of garden in the backyard, but this is where I receive the most sun, and this is where all of the beautiful flowering plants are. So this area right here is called Hell Strip. Sometimes it's called Devil Strip, Parking Strip, but it's basically the area between the road and the sidewalk, and a lot of times it's just lawn. And the lawn struggles because most often it's not irrigated. And what I decided to do with mine is just convert it into a garden. Before you convert yours into the garden, you have to check with your local ordinances if you can do that, because some areas do not allow you to do that. Also, you have to be mindful of the height restrictions because for the safety of the vehicles and the pedestrians. And if you have a lot of parking on your street, if cars park a lot, I would recommend doing like a garden every 10 feet and then grass strip every 10 feet. But everybody's situation is different. Just use your common sense, make sure everybody is safe. But I think this is way better than a dying lawn that always struggles. This area is not irrigated. I do not have any water. I do water occasionally, especially if I plant something new. Like I had some black and blue salvia that I planted here a week ago that was sitting in their pots for a long time. So I had to water that. But other than that, none of this is irrigated. So let me go into some of the plants here because that's the fun part. So the plants that are kind of sticking out here are Verbena bonariensis, and this is seeded itself. It never seeded itself before. I had to start it from seed, but this year it just did its own thing. This is a mountain mint, which is one of the biggest pollinators in my garden. I have so many bees. It's just unbelievable. So many butterflies, so many wasps. Just gorgeous. I love it. I love all the life in the garden. That's Franz Schubert phlox. And if I've showed you these plants before, I apologize. But I'm sure there's some new people here that would like to see and know all of the varieties. This is Shenandoah switchgrass, and this is Joe Pye weed. This is Euphorbia ruby. And if you don't have enough space in your garden for a real Joe Pye weed, which is right there, you see it's over 6 feet tall, Euphorbia ruby is such a great variety because it is about 4 feet tall and has the same beautiful flowers. Now, Euphorbia marginata continues all through this health strip, and I really like that because it provides this cohesion to the garden. I apologize for the planes. We live very close to Newark Airport, and also the Kennedy Airport. Planes fly over us as well. I mean, I'm kind of used to it, but it is a little annoying to some people. The little fluffy white plant that you see right there is Calamintha, and I love it, and so do the pollinators. And you can see the elephant ears are doing their thing. I'm so excited. Every time they're starting to get their bulk, I'm just so excited, and so are the neighbors. Oh my goodness, we had so many people stop by, take pictures, thanking us for the garden. And that is another question that I get. Like, aren't people annoyed that we have all these plants here? What about people with strollers, wheelchairs? Every single person is so thankful for this garden. They walk by it every single day and they tell me how much better they feel after walking through this. And it makes me feel amazing. So right here we have a little vignette of echinacеas and the switchgrass. This is totem pole. I'm actually going to replant it from the spot. It's definitely way too tall for a health strip. I would recommend that you keep your health strip plants to about 3 feet tall. I love this grass. Absolutely love this grass. It doesn't split, it doesn't flop. It's very strong, but it is over 6 feet tall and it deserves its own spot in the garden somewhere else. There is a Russian sage and a Verbena hastata, which is almost done blooming, but you still can see a little flowers on the tips there. More Verbena bonariensis and Leotris, or blazing star, joined the party. Just such a beautiful native plant. So as for the native plants, I would say at least 50% of this health strip and the sidewalk border are native plants, native to eastern United States. Now over here in this area I have Gara that I had a couple of plants here and they actually seeded themselves. I have a difficult time growing Gara. It kind of disappears over the winter, but I think they really like the spot because it has good drainage. For Gara, drainage is everything. Right over here I have more echinacea, and actually the phlox is starting to rebloom again. I cut this one down and it blooms again. Also, I have to admit this it has not been taken care of really well this season because I had a lot of work with my other projects. So I only weeded it recently, and I mostly concentrated on taking the seed heads off the weeds so they don't seed even more. But because this is such a naturalistic planting, it is very hard to tell what is a weed and what is not. Right here, this is Phlox paniculata, which is a native phlox, and it smells amazing, you guys. I just love the sweet smell of phlox. I know this is not the fancy variety, but I just love the wild look of it. There's a Veronicastrum that seeded itself. This is a first for me. I actually got a question about Veronicastrum, that plant right there. They are very slow to start. So if you get one in the nursery, it will take at least 3 years before you get a decent looking plant. So here's the view as you're walking through the sidewalk border. Have some more plants over here. Whitewood asters is starting to bloom. They are so sweet. Trying to pan very slowly so I don't make anybody dizzy. So right over here, I want to talk about the spot here. So I had tons of weeds here, and I pulled them out and I had a hole in the garden. So I went out in the nursery, and the one plant I can always rely on is Cleome. This is Senorita Rosalita. I actually have really hard time with Cleomes this year. I only have few that reseeded right there. Usually this garden would be full of Cleomes, and I can't quite figure out what happened. But if mine do not reseed, I can just get some of these, which are just such a wonderful plant to fill some holes in your garden. This is Calamintha, a little bit closer. I really like this whole composition here with the switchgrass, the Joe Pye weed, and the Calamintha. Looks really good. And right over here, another little grouping of echinacea and phlox. This is snake root. It will bloom in October with little white flowers. And of course, the elephant ears. I am not sure. I think I made a video about planting them this spring. So if you want to refer to that and just see what the difference is and how big they've grown since, I mean, these leaves are enormous, you guys. And I love them. And people take photos of these all the time because they don't see them that often. And here's another look from this angle right here. There are few cleomes this year. I think the culprit is the mourning doves. They really love the seeds and they kind of eat up the seed bank, and I don't have any more left. So I think I'm just going to start some from seed the following spring to have a little bit more of a cleome in my garden, because they're just such wonderful plants and also pollinator attractor. You can see bees all over it. So this little border here leading to our kitchen door is a tough spot to grow plants because most of the day it's shade, and then in the afternoon it gets intense western sun. So there are very few plants that can withstand these conditions, but the Joe Pye weed has no problem growing here. Also wanted to show you this Purpurea plena clematis. I had wilt on this plant last year, so I had to cut it all the way back. But it rebounded very well and it's blooming this year. Look at this. Aren't these so pretty? Also, this is the spot where I originally started my cleome about 15 years ago, and they're still here. They're loving this spot. And over here, I have some foxgloves that I started from seed this spring. This is lavender camelot and Dalmatian peach, I believe. There's some over there. The Nicotiana that you see here are seeded themselves, and I just love how beautiful they look in this composition. And the white wood aster is kind of adding a little fluff to this. There's some bees. Bees love foxgloves. Now this plant here is hibiscus, mosquito's heartthrob. And I'm normally not into red flowers, but this is so dark red and dramatic. I actually like it. So hibiscus flowers only last one day, and I try to collect them because they will stain concrete or any surfaces that you plant them near. So like this one is about to go. And see the flowers right there? Try to collect them. But it is dramatic for sure. And now let's go into the wilderness and I'll show you an update on the arborvitaes that I planted last fall. So this area used to be our woodland garden. We had a really large Norway maple tree here that had to come down last year. And now we're receiving a lot more sun here, and the sky blue aster, it's all of the green mass that you see here, kind of took off. And they are starting to bloom. It's going to be absolutely beautiful in a few weeks. And also the northern sea oats are everywhere. I will edit this place as I'm coming up with the plant list. I'm definitely going to have fewer of the asters. It's just too many, but let me just show you what they look like when they start to bloom. So it's these little blue flowers here. It's a great native pollinator for late season, so I am definitely leaving them. Now, let me show you the Arborvitae first. There they are. And most of them are doing really well. I think they actually grew a lot. And this little area here, I'm actually doing kind of a phlox trial to see which phlox doesn't get mildew. So I planted a number of them. Actually, these are the bare roots from Costco that I started in the video this early spring. But let me show you some of the problematic arborvitaes. So for those of you guys who haven't been following this project, I ordered these from Fast Growing Trees. They came in the mail, believe it or not. I ordered 10. And I mean, they look so healthy. However, I did lose 2 liters on 2 of these arborvitaes here over the winter. I'm not sure what happened. We did have a very severe Arctic blast and the tops just died off. I cut them off and see if any of these branches will become a leader. If not, I will just replant these somewhere else and plant new ones. But look at them. I think they're just filling in so fast. After they're all settled and they start growing, they're supposed to grow about 3 feet per year, which would be amazing because we kind of need a little bit of privacy from our neighbors. We love our neighbors, they're very nice, but it's just, you know, the garage doors and the windows are kind of looking over this garden here. So let me show you the vegetable garden now. I am so happy with my vegetable garden this year. I don't know if it's because of the inflation and the prices of the produce, but I decided to go heavy on the veggies this year. And oh boy, they did not disappoint me. So the tomatoes right here, look at this size of the tomatoes. These are heirlooms. So all of these are started from seed. There's some that are kind of collapsed over there. I have to get those. This one actually is not doing, the plant itself is not doing too well. I wonder if it's tomato blight. I will most likely remove it because I don't want other tomatoes to get it. Now, these over here, look at them. Oh, look so good. And another problem that I had in the vegetable garden is spotted lanternfly. I had beautiful cucumbers here and they just sucked the life out of them. I had to remove those and I started new ones from seed about 3 weeks ago and they're doing really well. And over here we have some lettuce, some arugula, and we literally haven't been buying any greens from the grocery store for probably 3 or 4 months. Everything comes from the vegetable garden and it's just so fresh and delicious. I love it. We got some zucchinis. I actually lost 2 of my zucchinis to squash bugs. And vegetable garden, it's its own story for sure. It is, I think it's way more difficult than ornamental gardening because of all of the disease and pest pressure that you can experience in the vegetable garden, which I definitely experienced this year. So there's some more tomatoes here. That's Husky Red, I think. And these rosemary and sage I had in the house over the winter in little pots, so I planted them over here. But this bed right here, I'm so happy with. These are banana peppers, and they are loaded with peppers. This is dark opal basil, delicious. Italian oregano, also delicious and extremely decorative. Like, how pretty is this? And I have some more lettuce that I started here in this pot. And this vegetable garden is irrigated. This is the only irrigation that I have in the garden. Oh, and look at this chocolate pepper. Isn't this so pretty? Some Genovese basil. So all of these, except for the herbs, I started from seed. Super happy with it. It's so productive. It's beautiful. Highly recommend. And now let me show you some of the things going on in the backyard. This is our beautiful Japanese maple here. I usually show it either in early spring or late fall when the color is stunning, but I rarely show it in the summer. But here it is in all its glory. We actually put a hammock under it because it is just so beautiful and also a lot cooler under this tree on a really hot summer day. And over here, this bed is where I planted all of the random stuff I didn't know where to plant. You know, that happens. But there's a lot of dahlias here and some other plants. But let me go over the dahlias real quick. They are just starting to bloom. I probably will do another dahlia tour when they're in full bloom. But this one is Otto's Thrill, and it's a beautiful pink lavender dahlia with some yellow undertones. There is American Dawn. I don't even know how to describe this color. It's very bright, very interesting. There is Labyrinth over there starting to bloom. Let me just walk over here. There is Lavender Perfection right there. And I planted Verbena bonariensis here on purpose because it looks so beautiful with all of these dahlias. And they don't need a lot of space. They kind of stick out like this and add that additional layer. I don't think it would be as interesting without them. Another plant that I wanted to highlight is this geranium Boom Chocolata right here. I actually planted this one at one of my clients and I really loved it. It has these darker foliage, and this is actually the second time it's blooming this season. I deadheaded it after its first flush and it's blooming again. By the way, I didn't see this Vancouver dahlia. Gorgeous. This one always strikes me because it doesn't even look like a dahlia, it looks more like chrysanthemum. So yeah, the dahlias are just starting. Again, I will show you another tour just with the dahlias here soon. So here's the same bed, another angle. This is where I had my tulips here this spring. And the dahlias here are just starting to bloom. But what I wanted to show you is this cool plant. There's actually a number of cool plants here. This is Clerodendron trichotomum. And I bought this plant, I think about 3 years ago on Cape Cod, out of all places. And I thought it was really cool. It's actually called a peanut butter plant because when you crush the leaves, they smell like peanut butter. And all of my guests are kind of shocked when I ask them to crush the leaves and smell it. But I love the flowers. They are just so beautiful. So the calyx is kind of this dark pink, almost red color, and with these beautiful white flowers. Hummingbirds love this plant. I think salvias and this plant is why hummingbirds visit us. And the one thing that I have to say, that it is definitely an aggressor. It suckers. I can't say it spreads by its seed, but it definitely suckers. So I'm going to have to make some decisions as to what to do with this plant, whether replant it, remove it. It will be really sad because it is stunning, but it is becoming a little hard to control. So definitely keep in mind when you decide to plant something, research its aggressiveness. But here is another cool plant right next to it. This is Thalictrum rush brunnianum, and another pollinator favorite. Look how cute those little flowers are. So I have 3 thalictrums here. This is the native one. It blooms earlier, and then this one blooms about now, and this one is black stockings. It blooms about end of May. All 3 plants are really good plants to try. Very interesting, really interesting texture. Now, here's another cool plant. This is my little area of cool plants. This is cardoon. Check this out. The bees are going nuts. So cardoon is an amazingly decorative plant when it's not blooming. It has these very architectural leaves. It is edible, and when it blooms, it is incredibly cool. There's another one right there. And here's another cool plant, and then I promise I'll stop. This is Angelica. And Erin from the Impatient Gardener sent me some seeds 2 years ago. I started them winter sowing. They did really well, and once you have Angelica started in your garden, it will seed, not aggressively, but you will always have it, and it is a very cool plant. Again, pollinators love it. I love the color and the shape of this plant as well. Right here, there's a beautiful native plant. It's almost out of season. This is Clethra alnifolia. You can see the flowers right there. And I cannot even describe the scent. It's just so sweet, amazing. If you like fragrant flowers, I highly recommend that you plant Clethra. It is a large plant. It grows to almost 7 feet tall, so it needs a lot of space, but it is native, great for pollinators, also has gorgeous full color. I also wanted to update you on the patio plantings. So I made a video about a month ago planting all of these. I just wanted to show you how much they filled in. I don't remember if I showed you this Clerodendron. This is blue butterfly, and I overwintered this plant in the basement, and it reflushed, and it's blooming now with blue butterflies. It's so cute. Love it. So the elephant ears are filling in so nicely. This is coffee cups right here. Some salvias. And if you want to know all of the details about these plants, I will post that video in the description down below so you can see the list of the plants. The Aloha elephant ear is doing so well with the limelight hydrangeas right there. It looks so good, the darker foliage with the lime color flowers. And of course, the elephant ears in pots. Look at that. Isn't this so pretty? And I have a few pots right here. The Brawalia, Endless Illumination, is loving its life. So Brawalia is one of the few plants that does really well in shade and will bloom all summer long. I planted it with the white bacopa. And the elephant ear, Patio, that I got online is doing amazing. Look at these blotches. This is why I got this plant, because of the cool foliage. It looks really good with the dichondra and the nicotiana right there. The peacock orchids aren't blooming, but the foliage still looks amazing. Let me show you the fishies real quick, if they'll come up. The little water lily is putting out another bud. It's been blooming pretty much all summer. It's just so peaceful here. I also wanted to show you the Windowbox, but it's kind of difficult. It's pretty far, but I think what I'm going to do is maybe put my phone on the tripod on the second floor and see if I can show it to you, but this is what it looks like from the street. All right, you guys, I hope you can see this. The Angelonias have grown so much. They're actually providing us with a lot of privacy here in the bathroom. Lantanas are doing amazing, and so are the petunias. It's just so beautiful. And here's another angle for you. I really hope it shows just how lush it is. And this is the view from the window. It is so lush and beautiful. All right, this is it for today's garden tour and garden update. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.